Streetboarding dreams, future and past. Here in the present, it's DRGNCAST.
So, B, welcome to the first episode of DRGNCAST. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jay.
yeah. Cool, man. Good to see you. It feels like I didn't see you for years and then you're back. But I think I've got the first question that everybody's going to want to know. And that is going to be backside rodeos, man. Now you're back. Are we going to see them?
I don't know. I had a pretty good skate day the other day.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe.
maybe.
I
Okay.
would really love to do some backside rodeos.
Yeah. I think everybody else would, man.
The
But
one that always slipped away was backside rodeo 720s, though.
yeah. Did you ever
I
land?
only tried like 50 of them, and I could
Yeah.
never land them.
Nah, shit. Damn. Well, you got a second chance now. You're back in the game. So first of all, before we go on, where have you been? What have you been doing? Where have you been hiding?
Well, for probably the last 15 years, I've been doing network architecture and design for businesses all over the place.
Yeah.
So I've been studying and really just becoming a network engineer on that side,
Mm-hmm.
and that's soaked up, pretty much the last 15 years. But I'm married now, and I've got a bunch of kids and stuff. So
So you've been busy. You've been busy.
yeah, you could say.
I saw that you've been keeping tabs on streetboarding as well, because I think you
Oh,
surprised me, man.
I probably haven't missed a video or a post in the last 15 years.
You're one
I've
of them
watched
Instagram sneakers, man. Instagram
Yeah,
sneakers.
I'm lurking.
Yeah.
I'm lurking for sure.
When you came over in February, you were talking about this and that, and I was like, you're one of those guys who watches everything but never likes. The only thing is, you can't watch stories now, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yep, I'm always there.
Yeah, all right. So everybody beware. Brinton's been watching. He knows all of your weaknesses for the next contest.
I don't think contests are a thing anymore for me.
Yeah.
But I do really want to hit a really big launch box. See, the one that got away was that Scotland launch box. That's the one, man.
While we're on it, let's go into that. Tell the story. What happened? Because there may be a lot of people who don't know what happened there.
Okay, so it is the worst trip I've ever taken out of all my international trips, dozens and dozens of trips. I first started out flying. So Neil actually booked my flights, and he made a mistake. He booked my international flight and my domestic UK flight from London to, it wasn't Inverness, but my domestic on the same day. So when I landed in London, and I'm stupid. I didn't even look, and I didn't even realize it. But when I landed, my flight had already taken off. So when I landed in London, first off, I missed my flight to Scotland. So that's how it started. Then they lost my bags because I caught the next plane and I didn't have my bags forwarded to the flight.
Yeah.
So when I got to Scotland, I had nothing. We drove up to Inverness, met with Neil, met with all the crew. Everybody started to arrive. We checked out the ramp, met up with Martin Gunn. He was doing the ramp build. And they'd spent like 300 hours on the ramp already, and we were very close to finishing it. It was like 6 hours of man hours away from being completed. Basically, the masonite and handrails needed to be built.
Yeah, you designed it, didn't you? As far as I remember.
Yeah. The jump was 7.5 feet tall, and the roll-in was 18, a little over 18 feet tall. It was going to be massive. It was going to be fantastic. The only thing I was worried about is I was going to have to go first. And I hate going first. But it looked incredible. Well, when it came down to it, well, so I didn't have any clothes, and we were there for 3 days working on this ramp, prior to the event.
Yeah.
And basically the day before the event, the owner of the facility of the conference center that we were building it in, and it's this huge facility, like a conference center with 30-foot ceilings and whatever, and the ramp takes up the whole entire facility. It was amazing. But the owner of the hotel and conference center shows up and basically said, "There's no way in hell you guys are doing this. You don't have insurance. You didn't tell me what this was about." So apparently Neil didn't disclose what the dimensions of this ramp were going to be. So finally the guy said, "Well, if you guys get insurance, I'll allow this." So I'm on the phone to all these insurance companies in California, because that's the only market that's still open, trying to secure event insurance for an event in another country. No, it was ridiculous. In the end, we didn't skate.
Yeah.
And then it started to snow, and it snowed like a meter in 2 days, and I had no freaking clothes.
And where were we staying?
I don't know, some hotel.
Yeah.
I have no
And
idea.
you got a hotel. We were all in these
Yeah,
caravans, like non-movable caravans with no
yeah,
AC.
you guys were in the trailer homes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But from a party perspective, that was a pretty good week because we didn't have anything else to do.
I had the best trip I've ever had. I think. I don't know. I was cooped up with the True School, and then I think we had Ingo in there. So we had Ingo drunk, sitting around telling us stories from back in the day. That was something.
That was one for the books, man,
Yeah.
because there was so much talent and so much fun there. But it could have been just a game changer.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad for Neil because he put a lot of time and money into that, and
Yeah.
it just didn't turn around.
One
So,
of the-
well, on the way back, if you remember,
yeah.
so that wasn't the whole story. We missed somebody didn't pick us up from Inverness to take us back to the airport. We were 2 hours late, and we all missed our flights. So I don't know who had the idea, but it was a great idea to get on a bus
That was me.
overnight. Was it you?
Yeah. But I think it was the only option to get you.
And so we took a 13-hour bus all night on a double-decker bus, and it was straight out of a movie
Yeah.
because it was packed. And yeah, drove from Inverness down to, I think it was Gatwick.
I think no, Heathrow. I remember
Heathrow,
we stopped.
got out.
Yeah.
13 hours. I literally ran to my flight and barely made it. But there was no segment of that trip that went well.
No.
There was none. The only thing is nobody died on any of my flights, which is actually something that happens when I fly to the UK. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that happened twice. I remember twice I was coming to pick you up and you called me and I was like, "Oh, dude, have you landed?" And you're like, "No, I'm in the US. Someone died."
Someone died.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. Okay, so talking about your worst trip, what was one of your best trips? You traveled a lot.
Oh man. Best trip is pretty hard because you're gonna have some incredible ones. I really like the Argentina World Championships. That was just a lot of fun. People's like he is the best host, the best dude. Yeah, I love the Argentina people. And
Yeah.
there was some craziness that happened then from World Championships because they had their Black Friday like a couple of days after the event, and so there was downfalls from the event from that. But I think the crew was it was just prime time, so much fun.
Yeah.
And that was actually when we first had I think I was on the first dimension, one of the first dimension boards down there.
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah. No. That was a sick trip, man. I think it was just it was like I think it was about 30 international guys all sleeping in Juan's house on the floor, like Actually, I think me and Sam got Diego's house, which was a bit more comfortable, but it was just craziness. Everyone was so excited, like this new country. I remember we got off the plane and we judged the bikini contest on national television or something, which was
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
People has all these like crazy hookups.
yeah,
I've been on TV. I've been on radio down there.
yeah.
You know, he always had something really cool cooking for us.
No, that yeah,
Oh.
that was a good trip, man. Going right back to the beginning, how did you start snakeboarding? Did you used to rollerblade? Is that right?
Yeah. So in high school, it was right at the peak of rollerblading. You know, NIST competitions were touring the U.S. and I've been working with the NIST guys a little bit, and I was at a NIST competition down in actually Zach Drake. He bought a snakeboard at the same time when we were rollerblading, so we'd been exposed to it. We could cruise around a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal, right? But I was down at a NIST competition in LA and I broke my ankle, and that changed it. Actually, that was it because I couldn't. I after my ankle was like semi-healed, I couldn't put a rollerblade on because it hurt too much. But we started to snakeboard and cruise around while I was filming. You know, everybody else still rollerblading. I was snakeboarding and cruising around. Well, you know, fast forward probably 6-8 weeks. John Gray, the snakeboard rep here, I sucked. I could barely drop in.
Mm.
But we were doing, you know, 360s and just messing around. And John Gray he just said, "Hey, so you're gonna start doing demos with us." And he basically helped me and introduced me to Snakeboard USA, Sandra and Ray and Kelly and all those guys. So he got me on the books for the SIA snakeboard show in '97.
Cool.
I think it was '97, early '97, like March or something. So I knew that was going to happen in about 2 months away. So from that day that I knew I was going to that, I was training like no other. So 6 hours a day, skating. And um, after that, you know, I after that, basically they just said, yeah, you're going to be on the travel team. You ready?
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I think I went to London for the championships. I don't know if it was European championships in '97.
Yeah, that was European. That was at the PlayStation had just opened, I think, about 6 months before. I came to
Yeah.
watch that because I remember did you do a nose slide down the super long, about 20-foot box?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So that was my first international trip, and I was, you know, just barely. I don't even think I was 19 yet. I think I was 18. I'd never been out of the country. I wasn't traveling with anybody that I really knew. I mean, Andy Cass I'd been on one trip with,
Yeah.
and I had no idea what I was doing. It was fantastic.
What do you think of London coming from Utah?
I just can't believe I didn't get run over because I was looking the wrong direction all the time. But I mean, it was amazing, and just the culture of snakeboarding back then.
Yeah.
And it was funny because there was a little bit of rift between the Germans and all the English speakers. So the
Yeah.
UK guys and the Americans would all hang out, and then the Germans and the Spanish guys would hang out. But it was kind of funny, you know,
Yeah.
meeting. Actually, I met Ingo at the SIA show, so I did know him before. But yeah, just
Yeah.
crazy.
And then you went on to win the world champs that year, Universal Studios,
Yeah,
97.
that was December 3rd in
Mm-hmm.
'97. And basically, from the point that they told me I was going to SIA, I skated 5-6 hours a day,
Yeah.
trained like, because I grew up doing gymnastics.
Mhm.
That was how you trained. Is you trained
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours a day. You had a schedule. You worked basics. You worked technique. You worked progression,
Yeah.
and then you worked your hard tricks. And that was what we did every day.
Damn, man. And then out of those guys back then, who would you say was like your favorite rider? The old school snakeboard guys.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I looked up a lot to Andy because he kind of had I think he was probably the most well-rounded, him and Rob
Mhm.
Nye. But Andy, I felt like had some wisdom and some perspective that was really good.
Mhm.
Not only from, skating point of view, but he was a solid guy. He's a solid guy.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him in years, but one time he said, snakeboarding's easy, but switch stance is the hardest thing you're ever going to do. So if you can get good at switch, then you've got a leg up. So I think for 2 years I tried to change my stance to the other direction. I didn't drop in, like I probably dropped in at contest my normal stance. But
Yeah.
other than that, I always dropped in switch stance.
Oh, interesting.
But that was fun.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
still skate a lot of switch
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
because Andy said, "Hey, you should do that."
He was a demon. He was a demon for Switch, and I mean,
Oh man, and his style was sick too.
his style was next.
Actually, that PlayStation, he did a Rodeo 360, and I've never seen anybody do something similar.
I don't remember seeing that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think he had a few videos out. I think maybe he did one in the Roadkill video or something like that back in the day.
Yeah, I think Cheeseburger too.
Burger, that was it. Yeah.
And then he had a section in Shadow Monkeys, I think.
Yeah. Talking of which, so Shadow Monkeys, like that was skipping ahead here, but why not? That intro, just where I chatting about it, was just, I mean, that was nuts. Why did you choose to do that intro? Who did it for you guys?
So Juan, I don't know if you guys know Juan Valiente down in Argentina. He's a cartoonist and illustrator. He's incredible. First of all, the coolest dude ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing in his artistry. And I know that he spent a tremendous amount of time doing that. And I still can't thank him enough for working on that. So I think Max Meyer was down there with him when he created that, and those guys shipped it to me. And when I got it, it was on 4 CDs, and I still have the original CDs. I look at them every once in a while.
Yeah.
But all the CDs were opened, and all the discs were flopping around and all scratched up. And I was so worried that it wasn't going to work.
No.
But I took candle wax and waxed the bottom of the CDs, and we got them to replay clearly.
Yeah.
But we put it together, and another friend of mine, we worked on the audio. You can hear like the monkey voices in the background. I've got a musician buddy, Eric Montross, that helped me do the intro. It was just, man, it was so much fun to work on like a multimedia intro like that, something totally different.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was
that was
a good time. I love little projects like that. So much fun.
Yeah, it's just something. I mean, for me personally, that's the best thing about streetboarding. You just learn so many different crafts and skills that you would never have, especially at that young age, that you would never come into contact with. You know, whether it's making boards or making videos or magazines. In my side.
Yeah, and the thing is it's not because it's a job. It's because you don't have to, but you kind of have to.
Yeah. Who else is going to?
So you just figure it out. It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I was like, I remember being 18 and organizing contests, and looking back, I'm like, how the hell did you do that? It's like, okay, we need to DJ. So you need to learn how to bring a sound system in, hook it up. All of those skills. Like, so I've got a question about the Shadow Monkeys intro. Why did you put, which is probably at the time and still is one of the most revolutionary tricks, the Rodeo 900, in the intro of the video? That's going to be the ender.
But that's how you get the hook, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome, right? We're still talking about it today.
Yeah, true. That was a battle, wasn't it? Didn't you go back? That was in Argentina, was it? Yeah.
So that's actually where one of the problems when we had the event, we had one of the event hosts. So we had different event areas, and I'd have to reminisce with people about how this all fell out, but World Championships was going to be set up in like 3 different event venues. And one of the venues was where this launch box was, but the event host pulled out and said, you guys aren't doing that this year. And we still had street, which was, fantastic, but Argentina was like in the middle of this just economic breakdown.
Yeah.
So there was no way about it. That World Championships, I learned a tremendous amount about events, about calculating risk,
Mm-hmm.
about just overall kind of business awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that launch box is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would love to hit that again, but
I think.
maybe a little taller and a little softer landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have the room in the backyard,
That's
so
what I'm looking
I
forward
don't
to.
know, maybe.
Yeah. Actually, and that street contest was going back to backside rodeos. Backside rodeo alley-oop 450 out of the mini onto the flat bank.
Onto
I
the
don't think
bank.
people can ever touch
I don't
that.
think I've ever had a more solid, crisp backside rodeo. Oh, I can feel it. It feels good.
I can, and I can't even land it. But just watching, just in my mind, I can feel them. I can feel them. Cool, man. Moving back on. So, like after snakeboard, like what happened after that? How did that go down? And what did you do after? You were world champ '97. What happened? What happened then?
So that was kind of weird. I thought my life was going to change after World Championships. Like I thought it was dramatically going to change. Like I would be able to pick up sponsors and travel and really really kind of pick up. But then after World Championships, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was kind of dull. And maybe in another year, like a different World Championships year, it would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, Snakeboard was going through their financial issues with the shocks in the boards, and the German distributor basically holding that inventory until Snakeboard would fix it, and I don't think they ever did ultimately. But there was a hole. There was like a hole that was left, and that's when I was going to school in southern Utah, and Zig was living down there. We were living together down there, just on campus, and so we started coming up with ideas that were related to classes, and that's when Frontal was started.
Yeah.
Because we needed bindings. The bindings that were out sucked.
Yeah.
And we needed something a little more professional, a little more, engineered, I guess. And so some of those, we've created SFP because of a project from school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then that spurred the binding stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, and
I think I have even the original bracket around here somewhere. But
tell people what SFP was, because there's probably a lot of people out there who haven't got a clue what we're chatting about.
SFP was the first snakeboard video that we did when we were living in St. George. So I was in a video editing class down there, and we filmed for a summer, and that was right around the time of that '97 World Championships. I think I started filming before that, and just after. And it had mostly the Utah crew. Jody Stackhouse had a section in there as well, and I think Jason Loeb.
Yeah.
And some, a couple of American guys. We all had sections in there.
Yeah. Yeah. That was cool.
Little 25 minute video. It was fun.
Yeah.
Good time.
That was I think like for me, people have got to realize that I think as well, at the time when you guys started Frontal, the internet was quite a new thing. I mean, especially over here in Europe, I think the US, you guys were ahead. I remember my first, it was coming into a computer class at school, and they were like, okay, there's this thing called the internet. You can access it from this and search that. And the first thing I searched was snakeboarding back then, and I found frontalco.com. And so that must be, I think, 98. When did you start Frontal? 98 or 99?
Yeah. We probably got business licenses and a corporation in 98. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 97.
Yeah. 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 So
actually, yeah, it was, because our first T-shirts were at Worlds. I wore the first set of Frontal T-shirts at Worlds.
Cool.
I have one. Actually, I have it up here.
Yeah, God. I was actually trying to find mine to wear to interview you, but it's in my car, and we're not allowed out more than once a day at the moment. Tomorrow we can. But yeah, cool. And then so from there, then like I remember when you guys were over recently, you, me, Steph, and Zig or Zach, hanging out. You were saying that eventually, like I mean, Frontal and was like you guys paid for your first cars through selling bindings and stuff.
Yeah. We basically funded a lot of travel and a lot of good times off of Frontal. So we were selling, creating bindings, but we were selling boards as well. And with that, I think we were able to push the sport, quite a bit back in the day. We're able to fund Shadow Monkeys and a bunch of goodness.
Yeah. And then so where were you getting your boards from then, like at that time? Like because
Snakeboard.
Snakeboard still.
Yeah.
Cool. And then yeah, I think the first time we met was 2000. That was that Germany trip.
I think it was earlier than that, man.
Was it? I don't know. That was in
I
Germany.
think it was 98.
98. Yeah. Way back.
Yeah, I think it was August of 98.
It was summertime. I remember that.
Because that's the year. No, it was 99. Because I was there for 2 contests. And I met with the German distributor about World Championships the next year.
Okay.
And Michael Ritter told me it was going to cost $100,000 or $50,000 to do World Championships. And I said, you're crazy. It doesn't cost that much to do World Championships. You don't have to do what you're trying to do. You need something for the riders. You need a contest for the riders. You give me $5,000 and we'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's actually how Worlds started. Yep. That's how we took over as street boarders, took over Worlds, sitting down with Ritter and he was just laying it out. I've had a couple of those meetings like that. And we did World Championships in 2000, I think, for $5,000.
Yeah, was that? I mean, I mean, go through the motions of how that happened, because that was one of my favorite trips ever. I have to
well, first of all, we had no idea what we were doing. Nothing. Yeah. Okay. So I had done, when I was 16 and 17, I had organized some rollerblade contests that were fairly successful. We had like 100, 150 participants. I knew how to get sponsors. I knew how to get prizes. I knew how to get a little bit of prize money. I knew how to do the registration. What I didn't know is how to organize 50 guys or 40 guys internationally flying in, logistics, driving everybody around. That was just crazy. And on top of that, I was trying to defend, I was trying to ride.
Yeah.
But we had a solid team. Everybody was amazing.
Yeah.
Dan and Zig, we all worked together like crazy. We split all these international guys up. So the best conversation is with my mom. I remember it was about 4 months before I said, "Hey, Mom, so you're probably going to want to move out for a couple weeks."
And how old were you at the time?
I think I was 20.
Yeah.
22.
I want to take this moment just on behalf of, I think, all streetboarders to thank our moms and our parents for what they put up with back in the day.
Oh yeah, and the crazy thing is she didn't even she was like, "Oh, okay, well," and she left. She slept somewhere else for like 10 days while all these foreigners took over the house. It was amazing. There were people literally sleeping in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I think the first night when everybody showed up, we had like 26 people stay at my house, and it was cold as shiz. So you're only staying inside the house. You're not staying anywhere. Staying outside.
So for everybody's information, this was in December in Utah. It wasn't like mid-August. This was December. It was
and there was like 6 inches of snow on the front lawn.
Yeah.
And Rick Lowe's jumping face first into the snow across the street. Max Meyer. Oh man, so many good times. It was actually a blur for me because I was planning and organizing so many different elements,
Yeah.
skate park stuff,
Yeah.
and that World Championships went really well because I had a great relationship with the skate park,
Yeah.
and they really helped, just keep things on track. And
Yeah. How do you get everybody about in Utah?
the cattle car, man.
The cattle car.
I don't know who
Legend.
named it. It was probably Dan, but
Yeah.
there's a what video is it in? Is it Fish? I think it's
in
Fish.
I think it's in Fish.
There's a picture of Dan, a clip of Dan, and he's yelling at Uli from Germany. Get in the cattle car.
Yeah.
And it's a rider van, and we put everybody in the back of this rider van. So we what we didn't realize is there was subsidies for events. I could have gotten a bus, but I didn't know.
Now you tell me 20 years later.
Oh yeah. So you can work with the city and the counties and whatever, and you can get transportation. But
So yeah,
some
for
things I've learned
everybody,
since.
it was a removals van, a big yellow removals van that basically 20 guys would just pile into the back of, and it was freezing. So imagine like we were driving, and it wasn't like we were driving like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. We ran out to like Provo, which is like an hour drive or something in that thing. We eventually put a bench in the back, and every time we got into the gas station, we had to all be quiet in case they thought there's a bunch of Mexicans in the back coming across the border or something. Everybody like, shh.
So we had a conversation, and it was like, okay, so this is either the best idea or the worst idea, because if we crash this shit, there's gonna be like 20 people dying. So don't crash. Oh my gosh, I have freaking nightmares about that. Anyway,
that would have been the end. No, streetboarding would have not survived at all if that crash.
It comes down to we just did what we had to do.
Yeah.
It was hey, how do we get through this problem?
Yeah.
We're just gonna get through it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that streetboarding's always had, being such a niche sport. It's all about that DIY ethos, and you can accomplish a lot as long as you have the passion and the willing. You got everybody's involved, and that is a prime example. We've had many of them over the years. So,
you just it's effort. You put in effort.
Just
figure it out.
But yeah, so you guys did, because you got Fish, which you just mentioned. You also got did Leon, which I think for me personally as a rider has one of my favorite ever tricks in it, which is where you do a 900. I think for me, I thought you did it. I spoke to you when you were in London recently. I think you did it like 900 Melon then Indy, but you said maybe the other way around or something. But I mean, you've got some sick backside rodeos in there. It's up on YouTube. If anyone wants to look it up, it's worth checking out all these old school videos, because I mean, I really think there's some riding that is just timeless and that hasn't actually been beat, today.
It was so much fun.
Yeah,
that video. And do you want to know the title, where the title comes from?
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
So the skate park that we'd always ride, Real Ride Skate Park, as you're driving home, there was this dirt ball motel that you drive past every time, and the sign was there, and the T had actually phased out, so it said Moel, and so it's Leon backwards. And if you look at the cover, you can, if you zoom in and look at it, there's a little plus sign, so it means motel backwards. There's no association other than that. That's it. Zig and I would just laugh about Leon. I don't know. So
okay, now we know.
That's it.
Great.
But the one I remember in that was the 18. There's an 18 stair gap.
Yes, you do that switch, no?
I tried switch 540 over that.
That was it, switch 5, and it's huge.
And it's massive.
Yeah,
it is absolutely huge.
Yeah,
and that was good. I got lucky landing it.
Yeah, you landed it. You landed it normal, but you didn't land it the switch 5. No, am I
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah. I think man, that place was that the one that I tried to 50 the rail at the end of
Mhm.
Utah Worlds.
Yeah. So a lot of Leon was filmed at Worlds,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah,
just a good time.
yeah. Good time.
I just remember Rick talking about just hilarious stuff, but you'll have to ask him because, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'll ask him someday. I think my favorite thing, just to mention it, is just so everybody's aware, Sergi, international man, man of traveling the world. At that Worlds, he could not speak one word of English at all, at all. And I just remember there was a couple of probably PG-13 word sentences that Rick Lowe was trying to teach him at the time.
Oh, and Sergi learned plenty of them over
Yeah,
that week and then the next 2 weeks
yeah.
because him and I went to Australia together for 2 weeks after that.
I completely
So
forgot.
I probably didn't handle this the best way. So the contest, World Championships in 2000, the prize was a trip to Australia.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 days later. So
And bear in
we
mind, this
worked it
was in
out.
December, so this was over Christmas, the trip as well.
Yeah, we got back the day before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas. So the deal was we'd change someone's flight. We'd pay to change their flight and also buy them a flight to Australia. And Thomas T actually won.
Mm.
He won the trip. But I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you want to go? Can you go to Australia?" And he said, "No, I can't." I said, "Okay." So I turned right around then and I went and asked somebody else. I think it was Christian Cam.
Yeah.
We'd have to look. And he said, "No." And so then I literally turned right around and asked Sergi.
And what did Sergi say?
And Sergi was like, "I don't know." And I think he called his dad or called his mom.
He called his mum, I remember.
And that was a wild trip. And so anyway, there's tons of stories about that trip. But on the way back, Sergi had spilled something either he left his passport somewhere or spilled something on his passport and they wouldn't take it. And so he couldn't get on the plane.
No.
And I was ready to get home. So I said, "See you, Sergi, later, man." He's 15.
He was 15 at the time.
I left him in Australia with Terry and the Australian guys. They
Yeah.
took care of him. We had to fax. Oh, I know what it was. He didn't have documentation of his flight out of the U.S., so they wouldn't let him on the plane. But I was a jerk. I left him in Australia.
I'm sure he didn't mind. I'm sure he was loving it. 15 years old.
Skating trips, that's number one. If skating, training, I've never been more bulletproof than I was after that. We skated at least 6 hours a day. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
That trip was fantastic.
And I'm sure when we speak to Sergi, that was a big making of him. Because he was good, but I'm at Worlds, but then, and I'd met him a few times before that in the UK. But then after that trip to Australia, he moved to another level of skating.
I mean, I still can remember just even individual tricks on that trip.
Yeah.
Anyway, good times.
Cool. Then moving on from that, that whole era, I then remember it was 2001. So it was before Argentina Worlds. You came over to the UK. We had the True School Tour that year, which was hella fun. But during that trip, I had to drive up with you to meet with MV Sports, who owned the snakeboard patent at that time.
Yeah.
What happened from there, and between there and then starting Dimension?
Well, it was actually a similar meeting as we had with Michael Ritter in Germany, but I don't remember the guy's first name, but his last name was Graham. But MV Sports was they owned other brands like they owned Winnie the Pooh, the licensing for Winnie the Pooh in the UK.
Yeah, and Barbie.
So they were a company that they were into toys and
Mm.
licensing agreements that way. Well, we met with them and they showed us, I think they were generally pretty excited to meet with us at first. And then they started to show us skateboards with the Snakeboard logo on them. And as that continued, our mood went down. And so finally, I don't remember exactly how the meeting went, but basically it ended up me telling them that they're stupid.
Yeah.
And their marketing was not going after the demographic of what they had bought.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to market to a different segment, and that didn't sit well with them. So we basically left. They pretty much almost kicked us out of there, but they gave us a number for, what they would sell Snakeboard for.
Yeah.
And it had the same feel as that meeting with Michael Ritter of, why are you trying to make this so hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they truly thought that they had something that was worth millions and millions.
Yeah.
And really it just wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'd always kind of dreamed of putting a board company together, but getting that, buying Snakeboard was insurmountable at that point. Yeah. And after that, I was on the search to try to find someone to make boards with. And Josh and I actually drove out to Winnemucca, Nevada. We met each other 2 days after 9/11 happened, actually. And I was supposed to be in Portugal with the German guys, with Keenley and Cam, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. There was 5 of us that were supposed to go. But there's some footage of their trip that was amazing. Anyway, so I missed that because of 9/11. But I met up with Josh, and we started things. Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. And then, so Dimension, what year was that you guys actually started Dimension? Because I remember being with you in Barcelona when you got the first prototype through, I think it was.
Well, 9/11 was 2000, right?
2001.
2001?
Yeah.
It was 2 days after that. And I think I flew back out, and we had started probably third quarter of that year. Everything was already running. We were starting to make prototypes, finding, the AS1 prototypes that are actually, if you looked at them now, they are terrible looking. But the actual production board was pretty good.
Yeah.
Turned out pretty good.
AS1 turned out good. I mean, I like that board. That was cool. And then, so you were doing Dimension for a while. I mean, and then you kind of split off from Dimension. What happened in those years? Like, you did actually. Let's move quickly. During those years, you had Blood on Concrete. That, I mean, for me, has got to be the highlight, one of the highlights of the sport's history as a contest, and then probably one of the best, and definitely the highlight of one of the Dimension contests.
Yeah, and I think I have a different view.
Yeah.
I think it was a great contest.
Yeah.
I think I think the return on investment for that contest was maybe it was built out of the content, but definitely no direct return on investment for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
So that contest was actually very expensive to put on.
Yeah.
And
huge. That you guys
there was other ways, other advertisement, other content build that I would have rather gone after.
Yeah.
But when you're in a partnership with a couple of other owners, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was fun, man. That was a good contest.
I think from a rider perspective, that's what I mean. It was sick.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I mean, from pushing the limits perspective, that was fun. That was a great time.
Yeah, I think from that perspective, was that the first time you did a front flip off a gap downstairs?
Yep.
Yeah, that was next level. You
Yep.
tried it a load of times, didn't you? And then did you try it a few times? Because Christian Schneider was trying the Misty Sevens, and then Gotthard landed one of those as well off Makba, and then but I think
Yep.
you landed the front flip. Was that at the beginning?
And I was so hung over. Oh my, like to another level.
Dude, all the time in Barcelona, those were that's just the modus operandi.
I think I tried it 20 times.
Did you?
Yeah, because I remember editing the video after, and yeah, ugly. I was in pain after that day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Damn, cool, man. And I guess yeah. So you kind of what happened with you leave? You know, I guess you're in a partnership with 3 people. Like you ended up leaving Dimension. What happened and where you been since?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I had some personal stuff going on, so I really couldn't participate in the company in the way that they wanted or I would want either.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I bowed out, and you know, there were times that I tried to come back and start working again with those guys, but it just never really worked out. And I think, you know, no bad blood there at
Yeah.
all. Those guys are amazing. We've had some fantastic times over the years. So just remembering back to the very early days of Dimension and in Josh's garage, coming up with ideas was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Blood on Concrete with those guys was amazing.
I actually have a good story about. Do you remember Josh getting his wallet stolen? Pickpocket.
Wasn't it at the same time? What's the big German dude's name?
Kai or no or Chewbacca?
Chewbacca, yeah. Chewbacca, I think, got his stolen on the same train ride.
Really?
Or maybe the same trip.
No, yeah, it was. Josh's got pickpocketed in the street, and then the guy who stole it had about 40 guys, streetboarders, running after him. And then I think once he got caught, he was crying because he was so scared. He gave it back, and then nothing happened to him. He just, I don't think he'll ever do that again. But
Man,
cool.
that was a good trip. That
Yeah.
was a fantastic trip.
And then I guess let's go, full circle. So you've kind of been in the wilderness, learning the art of handcrafting boards, and you're back. Like I hadn't heard from you. We'd always speak occasionally on New Year's or whatever. And then I think it was in I was down at my mum's, and you sent me a message. You're like, dude, I'm coming in January. Like, sweet, cool. And because Zach Drake, aka Zig, was out here living for about a couple of years. Him and his wife had decided to move back, and Dan Coleman, so one of the guys, the frontal guys, you had been out the summer before. Was it that convinced you to come out, or did you come out with ulterior motives? Or
Well, I think when Dan came out to Worlds last year, I was like, man, I've really missed out on a lot.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot going on, in other parts of my life.
Yeah.
But about that time, I moved back to Ogden. So I've been living in Salt Lake for 13 years, and I moved back to Ogden, where I grew up and where my mom's house was for World Championships in 2000. But when I moved back here, it just changed. Ogden's got something on me.
Yeah.
And it really just changed my perspective of things. And then it kind of solidified it, the trip out to England, just seeing the homies talking about it, and also seeing there's kind of a gap. It's kind of like that place where we were in 97 after World Championships. There was a hole.
Yeah.
And I'm starting, last year I started to skate again a little bit, just cruising around because I'm back in Ogden. I don't know. I don't know what else to do here. It was great to do.
Yeah.
But that same gap kind of came up.
Yeah.
And now there's different opportunities. I've got different resources. I've got different abilities.
Yeah.
So
You got the space.
It's space. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got a little factory going,
Yeah.
and
So Dragon. Yeah.
so Dragon, we're bringing it up.
How do you want to set it apart from what's come before, what there currently is? How do you see the brand?
Well, so first of all, I think in the past I've looked at snakeboarding of trying to get it to a mass appeal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over that. What I think I've come to terms with is it's too hard for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing. It's a niche sport that's incredible. It's fun to watch. It's incredibly fun to do. It's athletic. It offers a lot of community and culture and worldwide reach.
Yeah.
And I really miss it. I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that culture, that feel into the production.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make I want to have a little bit of meld of what I've been doing for my day-to-day work,
Mm-hmm.
in my career, from a speed and iteration perspective and engineering perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but also that quality, that passion, the culture that we can put into the boards.
Yeah.
And literally it's kind of lined up. If you look at my past year, I moved. I had another baby, so I've got a little baby cruising around. So I'm at home working, and yeah, I'd love to build things with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of help. We've got a production manager who at some point you guys will meet. But we're just coming up. Things are lining up.
Yeah.
We've got the resources, we've got the space, we've got the technology. And it's going great.
Cool.
It's fantastic, man.
I'm
excited.
It's been awesome the last. I think for us, for myself and Steph over here, like coronavirus has hit at the right time in a way, because it's given us a lot of time to like really put into it, and it's going somewhere. I've been involved in the sport for so many years, and it's so special. And I think it's never going to be the biggest in the world, but there is a reach further than we have that we can reach out there, and we can all do it together as well. There's a lot in it.
Yeah.
No, it's cool.
I'm excited about the new differences and
Mm-hmm.
how we can provide a service, but also how we can grow a sport.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to be scooters. We're not gonna hit millions in sales.
No.
But who cares?
Yeah. No.
We're gonna have fun. We're gonna build cool shit.
Yeah.
We're gonna take ideas and engineering ideas from other sports, integrate it like in no other way that's been done before for streetboarding.
Yeah. No.
So innovation is key to what we're going to do, and as long as we keep innovating, I'll keep doing it. But as soon as that slows down or stops, yeah. But right now it's moving faster. I mean, I can't keep the ideas inside my head. It's ridiculous, as you know.
Yeah, I know. I texted you this morning. I was dreaming about it last night. Like literally woke up with a few ideas for things. So, no, cool, man. All right, we're gonna move on, and then we'll wrap up. But just gonna do a quick one, and you got to answer really quickly, okay? Who's your favorite ever rider?
Sergi. It actually anybody that pushes themselves, anybody that's gonna have fun, anybody that's gonna push themselves. And Sergi's always that.
Yeah.
Okay.
True. Okay, your favorite trick ever that you've done?
I really love rodeo sevens.
Okay.
A good, clean, stomped rodeo seven is fantastic.
Your favorite trick ever that anyone else has done?
Some of the backside Smith combos just blow my mind. I don't know why. And they have a funky feel to them. So whenever I see somebody do it, just, backside Smith, 270, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Bob has some incredible combos that they're like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's a next level. Favorite streetball video or snakeball video ever?
Well, Shadow Monkeys.
Good answer. And then your favorite ever board.
My current one,
Good corporate answer.
the one that I just shipped to somebody.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. No. What about mine?
Yours is sick, man.
Yeah.
I've been working on it.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I'm excited
I
about
just saw
that
the
one
pictures.
too.
We won't reveal anything yet, but I'm looking forward to. This is innovation. This is innovation. Oh man. Anything else you want to chat about? No.
There's tons of stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
We try and keep it concise to an hour. So.
I have a question for you, Jay.
Okay.
What did you think when I first told you that I wanted to start a board company? I've been gone for 15 years. I hadn't even hardly shown my face.
I was like, finally, my prince is back. I was like, look, I've been involved through the years in the background, heavily with Neil, with Highland, just really helping on mostly like the marketing image size and trying to guide him. Like not so much with Gabby, but Victor, I worked with really closely with a lot of things with Dimension, like especially after you had left. And it's something that I've always I've got a ton of ideas, and I think you know that from when you came over and spoke to me. And it's something me and Gabby I spoke about a couple of years ago. Is look, I don't know what works to make this sport huge, but I know a hell of a lot what doesn't work in this industry, and because I've seen it being done. But also on the other side is I've been wanting to get my teeth into something. I love this sport so much, and there's times that my enthusiasm and my involvement have, up and down and waned. But it's really, for me personally, to be able to work with, a really old friend, somebody that I trust, and who is extremely motivating, and to actually try and put some of these ideas that have been sitting in the back of my head for years into action. They're not all going to work, but that's what I'm really excited about, is just trying things and moving quickly. It doesn't work, move on.
Yep.
So that was it.
Well,
Cool.
I'm excited.
Me too, man. This is gonna rock, and I hope everyone else out there is excited. Just quick, any thank yous you want to shout outs you want to give?
My wife, first of all, because I'm in the factory a lot. I'm spending time with you. By quite a bit. Yeah. Dan, for being the coolest homeboy forever, and Zig, just Zig and I, we don't talk all that often, but man, there's just something about our connection. And the last trip out was just incredible. And I can't wait to see everybody again. I can't wait. It's only a matter of time now.
Yeah, we've got to do something big, and I think everybody's been in that, especially during the COVID thing. I think a lot of people realize how much streetboarding especially means to them. I mean, I know it's changed my whole life and my main thing, but there's a lot of people who maybe hadn't been in the scene for a while. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone, man. We've got to do something big.
And early on, I want to thank Mason Turner. He's our production guy.
Yeah.
Without him, a lot of this wouldn't be happening. And Steph, I love having conversations with Steph and throwing ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
That dude is the funniest. So if you get a chance, sit down with him and hang out for a minute. Anyway.
I definitely do. I'll knock on the wall. He's next door, and I'll give him a kiss.
Hope he's not naked or something.
He always is. Normally, he's German, Austrian, so but yeah, cool. Thank you, Brinton. Thank you for chatting. That was really, really fun. So, and guys, tune in to the next episode. We're going to have somebody very special, different kind of vibe, and the interesting stories. But thank you, B. I'm looking forward to
Jay. Thanks, man.
Yes. Take care, bro.
Streetboarding dreams, future and past. Here in the present, it's DRGNCAST.